Most people walk right past them. They're hiding under rocks, buried beneath fallen leaves, living entire lives that almost nobody notices. But if you stop and look, there's an entire world beneath your feet. And today, we're going to build that world from scratch. These are the papaya isopods, or scientifically known as Cubatus marina. Isopods are small crustaceans related to shrimp and crabs, and there's over 10,000 species of them all across the world. Unlike their giant ocean counterparts, these guys have become massively influential in the reptile hobby. They help break down the waste and recycle nutrients, which have become a major influential factor of bioactive setups, which should be the standard for all care. Pretty much just keeping it healthy and natural. And with so many different species and morphs and their cute little faces, it's easy to see how people get so hooked on them. I've kept them in bins like that before, but to really appreciate them, they need a proper habitat, something more than just a plastic bin with the necessities. They provide the ecosystem for all of our larger pets, so why not provide an ecosystem for them? So for the past week, I've been turning this empty 10-gallon donation tank into a proper ecosystem for them. The goal wasn't to just make something that looks good on camera, it was to take a part of nature and put it into a tank. So with that in mind, I took the forest floor as an inspiration for this build. I thought about the random pieces of bark on the floor, the roots that were hanging over, the plants that just kind of grew around, the moss, all of the things that you would normally see on the forest floor. Every enclosure we build teaches us more about the species that live in it. And here at the ARK Sanctuary, that's what it's all about, giving every species the chance to be appreciated in the way they deserve, no matter how small. So I welcome you aboard, sit back and relax, and enjoy the build. We did end up picking up 3 more tanks. It ended up being 2 10-gallon tanks and I believe a 32 or 33-gallon tank. All 3 of these tanks costed us a total of $5. Normally all the tanks we get in are donations, so we don't end up paying anything for them, but for $5, I'll take it. And now that you remember how we got the tank, let's get started on the build. Every good custom bioactive build starts with great stuff, pond and stone expanding foam. Bars. Anywho's, he's got to make sure to shake it real good, because otherwise the foam won't come out right. I always suggest before you start spraying any of the foam, mess around with your scape. Try to figure out where you want your main pieces to go. Try out different things and just really play around until you find something that you like. And once you got that ready, it's time to start spraying. So I suggest not doing the giant blobs like I did. For this specific build, I wanted the background to be more rigid, as I didn't want the isopods just crawling up the wall on the back and getting stuck somewhere. So a lot of the build that I made was super double layered, rigid, bubbly. If you're going to do this yourself with like a bigger reptile, you'll do what I'm doing right now and make little circles like this across the whole thing so it looks more natural. Keep it as flat as you can. Don't make the big bubbles. The trumpet sighs a memory. The keys forget your song. The clock forgave your leaving love. So then it's time to stick my larger pieces that I kind of already knew where they were going to go and expanding foam around them. The biggest regret I have about this build was this part, actually. I had already kind of known the design I was going for, where the pieces were going to go, but you can see I kind of struggled to get them to stay. Biggest suggestion I can give you is before you put these large pieces in, go ahead and add whatever sort of substrate you're going to put on the back wall if you're going to put some, because I made the mistake of not getting to that till it had already dried, and then I had to silicone all of it to add it on top, which didn't end up fully covering it like I wanted, but you'll see. I end up fixing it and making it look good later, but yeah, don't do these first. You'll see that during this, I realized, after putting all of this on, that I should not have put the large wood pieces on the back wall yet. I should have done that after it had cured, because yeah, none of this was sticking, so this whole kind of process was a waste of time, so I'm going to skip on past it. But For your sake, if you are doing this for your own bioactive build, please do this before it dries and it's still wet. Then I kind of went on to do the sidewalls. Yes, the dirt was intentionally left in there. You can see I'm doing a very rough expanding foam. I didn't want to fill every single gap on the sidewalls because these species do climb a little bit, and in the wild they would burrow into the mounds and they would make little holes and stuff to go stay in, so I didn't want to remove the ability for them to do that. The best way to allow them to still do that and get my personal preference of having sidewalls was to leave a lot of holes in it. Do a very rough job around the sides and leave little gaps that they can then climb into once it's cured and covered.
I learned to love what disappears, the quiet in your chest.
And after the expanding foam had cured and our silicone had finally arrived using next day Amazon delivery, because I did not know I was going to need it, I went ahead and tried to get the substrate on the back wall, which, yet again, this is a step you can completely avoid if you just use the expanding foam while it's wet. My brain was just off and I somehow missed that. But this works just as fine. So pretty much this whole process, all I'm doing is putting silicone down, aquarium safe silicone. Do not use just some random store silicone. It's got all kinds of mold preventatives and bad things in it. Make sure you use aquarium safe silicone with no mold preventatives. The only thing to note here is make sure you're using gloves, because this stuff will stick to you and never leave for about a week. Even though it is safe for, it's not going to kill you, but it still sucks. I pretty much did this for the next hour and a half. It takes a while to do this because silicone does not just come out in large sprayable things. You got to rub it all in. You got to make sure you hit every crevice and crack so you don't miss any spots. Yeah, it's just a whole process. So a lot of adding dirt, dumping, let it sit for 30 minutes, add more, dump more, just the whole shebang, right? All right. We just finished siliconing the back wall. It did take a little while, a lot longer than I expected, but it's done. And now we're going to let it sit for 24 hours. And I guess that means I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye. After the silicone and expanding foam have fully dried and secured, you can see the dirt is now on the wall. Like I said, it didn't turn out exactly perfect. You can kind of see little gaps and imperfections due to, silicone not being able to hit every portion because I went for such a rigid wall. I'll do a few final touch-ups off camera, which will make it look better in the final cut. All I do there is silicone and more dirt. Just fix the little patches I didn't really like. The first thing I decided to do today was add lava rocks on the bottom, which is my preferred method to act as the draining layer. There are a million different things you could use as a drainage layer. I just prefer the lava rocks because they're cheap and easy for me to get. The drainage layer is super important because it allows for all that excess water and moisture to go somewhere rather than deteriorate the soil by just sitting in it and it becoming waterlogged. Pretty much just recreating what you would already find out in nature. The goal here is just to cover as much of the ground as you can, try to cover the whole thing in a thin layer of rocks. The most important part of this is you don't want all of the substrate to just mix with the rocks. It kind of defeats the whole purpose of separating it. So I just use normal window screening. You can find this anywhere. I get all of mine from Walmart, so super easy to find and get. Try and get the ones with the smallest possible squares because you want the least amount of dirt and other things getting down up in it. This also ended up being another problem because the background that I did earlier, yet again, came around to bite me in the butt because I couldn't get it up under the roots that were kind of extending out from the wall. Of course, I found a way around it as I cut perfectly sized holes in the mesh to just wrap around them, but yeah, you could avoid it. And of course, today we also moved on to substrate. The first thing I started to do was I pulled a coconut fiber brick out and I made sure to go prepare it.
Yang!
I absolutely love these things because not only are they cheap, you get a lot of it when you buy it, and all you got to do is a little work. For instance, if you were to buy a bag of this stuff, it would cost you like $30, but you could spend $10 and just do the work yourself. Save the money, it's easy. These bricks literally melt as soon as you add water onto them, so it's literally just a process of water, take the chunks out, water, take the chunks out. The coconut fiber kind of serves as a water absorbent and the moisture holder. It's super good at absorbing water. As you can literally see in the video, it's just eating every ounce of water I put in it. This is super important for a bioactive tank because without that moisture, a lot of these plants and other things will just die. Only downside to these things is they make a mess, so make sure you clean them after yourself so your grandparents don't kill you like mine would. Functionally, substrate is probably the most important thing. You got to hit all the components that nature has, and you got to make sure you have everything you need to keep everything alive. Like I said, I use the coconut brick specifically to hold moisture and water in, and I put it right above the drainage layer because that's where I want it. And here you'll see me adding the topsoil, which is pretty much just consistent of wood chunks and vivarium soil. All three of those things you can find at pretty much any of your local pet stores, but there are a few more additions I put in here that you will probably not be able to find there. In this mixture, there's 100% hardwood lump charcoal, worm castings, sphagnum moss, and leaf litter. All things that are important to keep springtails and isopods alive. And now, arguably for the most important part of making a tank look good, is the plants. I get all of my plants from local hardware stores, pet stores, online, anywhere where I pretty much find them and I think they look cool. These all happen to come from Home Depot as they had a big sale, so I was like, why not? Let's go and get some. Home Depot's plants are awesome. They're cheap, they're great, they look good, they're all the points that you want to hit. But they have a major flaw, and it's that all of them pretty much use fertilizer. So when you get plants from these hardware stores and they have fertilizers, you have to remove the soil and clean the roots, which you see I'm doing now, but you have to do this carefully because if you break off the roots, the plant just dies. And then once you've cleaned all the plants off, you have to let them sit for a second, repot them, and put them in the new substrate and soil. This process can be super tedious, so sometimes it's better to just spend a little bit of the extra money so you can avoid this step. Usually I buy all my plants from an online retailer that sells aquarium safe or reptile safe plants, but I decided to go to Home Depot and get these, one, because they were on sale, and two, because I wanted to show you guys how to clean and process them for those who, only have the ability to buy these plants. The second hardest task about these plants is most of the time they are carrying slugs or mites, which are literal ecosystem killers. These things will eat off the plants, they'll take all the nutrients, and they'll just destroy your whole tank, so you want to avoid them. While I was cleaning and processing them, I found several slugs. No mites, fortunately. I happened to get plants that had none of them, but I did find a lot of slugs, so I took a lot of precautions to make sure to get rid of them. The ones that were alive that I saw sitting on the leaves, I took them outside and put them in the yard because they didn't ask to be taken here by me. But with fertilizers and all these other things in mind, the plants need to be quarantined. So once I'm done cleaning them, they then have to go into a separate tub where they'll sit under plant lights and I'll be under constant watch pretty much. I personally let the plants sit here for about 2 weeks just to make sure they are ready and safe to be put in the tank. And yes, that does mean this was pre-recorded. Now time for my favorite step, scaping. So once the plants are cleared from quarantine and you're able to put them into the tank, the next step is to add them in. So I spend a lot of time kind of thinking about where I want these guys and where they're going to go, how they're going to fit around the different things in the tank. And this is kind of the scape I came up with. I wanted to utilize the branches as much as I could, keep them as involved as I can make them, as much of a pain as they were. My best suggestion when it comes to scaping is really to leave it as open as you can, but think about the animal. It depends on the animal that goes in the tank because they're the ones that are going to have to deal with this the most. You can see I added all these plants in, I kept moving things around, but I kind of realized I added too much because, isopods need a lot of ground space to crawl around. They need to be able to move and hide under things, so Ultimately, I ended up taking a couple things out and then putting a couple things back in. I added some more branches and things for them to interact with, be a enrichment kind of source. Yeah, I think it turned out awesome. I think the plant layout that I had really works. Yet again, like I said, the most important thing is make sure you know what your animal needs. Mine's super easy because isopods are very low maintenance, easy to take care of creatures. They just require a few basic things. But for larger tank builds and, more complex animals, make sure you hit all their boxes and then give them more than the basic. Don't just meet the minimum. Possibly the best detail I added were these stones that I had just sitting around. They really added to the forest floor feel. My brain was just really looking for one different color contrast. So this white rock in the corner, the gray rock under the bush, it just worked. And of course, no tank is complete without the moss. I have my own sphagnum moss, a little propagation colony thing, so I just grabbed some out of my bin and put them in the tank. It's important to note that I put the moss around the sticks and the walls. I didn't want to put any on the ground because this stuff is going to grow like wildfire in this tank because it's so natural and open. I want to avoid trimming it for a little while, so I put very minimal moss, just where I needed a little color contrast. I had so much fun building this tank. Like, an unreal amount of enjoyment came from this. There's just something so rewarding about looking at a full piece of nature that you created, put in a tank, and you did it all on your own, like it's your own art. But alas, this tank would be nothing if we didn't add the life in. So, of course, right here I'm sprinkling in some springtails from my springtail colony. I keep my springtails on the hardwood charcoal, like I mentioned earlier, because it's what they just absolutely thrive in. So you can see me just kind of sprinkling them in here. I absolutely love these guys. I don't know what it is about them. They're not really isopods and they don't really do anything except carry the ecosystem, but I just find them so interesting as they swarm the tank when they first get introduced. As fun as the springtails are, it's time to add who we built this whole tank for. My papaya isopods. I made a promise to these guys that they were going to get the first tank, as they just took my heart as soon as I got them. It's so strange to think that something so small can be so personable and truly like learn who you are, but these guys really do. Most people would just dump these guys in here, but not me. I had to lightly lift each one in there, and these guys like to hide in the littlest crevice imaginable. So getting them in one at a time was a task, and yes, it took a while, but eventually we got there and we got them all in safe and sound. Yeah, I mean, there had to have been well over 100 of them, so yeah, it took a good amount of time to get them all in here one by one. And once they were all added in, I added the rest of their leaf litter into the tank, so of course that's what they eat, so that's their food source. I made sure to keep some of the leaf litter and their big old log in the bin just in case there were babies, hatchlings, or one that I just so happened to miss. I didn't want to leave them in there all alone, so I'll check back in on that bin in a couple days just to make sure. So yeah, that was the tank build, and I hope you guys really enjoyed this. I know it wasn't for a crazy species or a large animal, but those builds will be coming soon, trust in that. I mainly did this because, like I said, I had made a promise when I first got these guys, and I plan on staying true to my word. The first little block of nature is on the rack. Comment below what your favorite part of this video was and what kind of tank builds you'd want to see in the future, because I have a ton of empty tanks, just not exactly sure what I should build them for yet. Yet again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time you board the ARK. Bye-bye.
Maybe in another room you'd still reach out for me. The clock would hum a softer tune, and time would let us be. Maybe in another life we'd share the same